Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Virche Evermore, continuing on Coffee's route. Listen, Les Salut. No, we're not calling it that. We're calling it on Coffee's route. Anyway, a few hours later, I wanted to apologize to Lucas and Eve for all the trouble I caused, but Adolphe told me it'd be better to recover physically and mentally before going to see them. Sorry, I had to adjust, and my bird's sitting on my chest, so. Before leaving for the orphanage to get my clothes, he told me to stay inside and not open the door for anyone. Adolphe's house was on the outskirts of town, so not many would come this way. After he returned, he must have noticed that I still looked melancholy, so he said, "It's been a long time since I've had your cooking." Adolphe was reading a book in the corner of the room as he said it, just before the sun went down. He must have known that I was feeling guilty and useless for being here like this. Hearing him say so made me perk up. Like, everyone else, like, "You're a guest in my house. Would you like to cook for me?" The fuck, bro? And instead, she's over there. He's like, "Hey, you should do some shit around here. Cook, clean, maybe." Oh, thank God! I was bored being your house cat. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here for a visit. Why am I doing your dishes? Anyway. Fucking ridiculous. Before encountering those horrible deaths in the alley, I was planning on cooking his favorite stew. Although he rarely expressed such things, I was sure that Adolphe had been looking forward to it as well. Because I already knew it was his favorite, I always had it ready whenever he returned to the orphanage for dinner. "You need to stop. We need to simmer down. Very chatty right now, and then you're nibbling at my nips." Yeah, nibbling at my lips. That sounded like I said nips. I was saying lips. Jesus. "You just keep biting at me. It's not nice. I'm trying to read. I can't read biting me. And then you're talking. You're talking over me. Just simmer down, Spazzy McSpaz." Then how about we cook something together? Sure. Seeing me break into a somewhat awkward smile, Adolphe gave a small nod. Adolphe always helped me with the household chores at the orphanage, so I was used to standing alongside him in the kitchen. It took a while to cook the stew and a couple of side dishes, so we were completely focused on eating as soon as it was ready. As usual, he showed no hesitation in eating the food that I prepared. And good, there it is. No one else seemed to notice his habit, but he just shook a little, the sprite. Whenever Adolphe ate something that tasted good, his body would shake in the most subtle way, and only for a second, if that. That's kind of fucking cute. He didn't seem to be aware of it himself. That is actually kind of funny. Because I had served him his favorite stew many times, I might be the only one who noticed this imperceptible movement. Not realizing that I was watching for this usual habit of his, Adolphe suddenly stopped eating and looked at me. "Your stew is as good as always." "Thank you. I'm glad you haven't gotten tired of it after all these years." "Yeah, it's really comforting." Look at his little beaming face. Okay, but you know what, though? In a way, this pose, though, again, you know what it is? Anko's poses are almost like the reverse mirror copy, like a weird mirror universe of Adolphe. Like, he's facing the other way, but he has a very similar one, but his hand is over his mouth, even though his sleeve is very long, instead of on his forehead. And it's like his other arm is like almost behind his back, but it's like a very similar. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, that's. He's like a mirror world version, like upside down and backwards. Like, it's fucking weird. Like, this, I don't know why. Like, we've seen Adolphe with his exasperated hand on his forehead, but it wasn't until this, with his little beamy smile, that for some reason just hit me like that's very similar to Anko's pose. but again, hand in a different place, slightly the same but different. You know what I'm saying? Like, too similar? Weird. Not like Lucas and Boro had the exact same motherfucking poses, but theirs are like mirrored opposite. It's weird. Okay, come on. Okay, I'm sorry, but they did that. They had to have done that on purpose. Like they gave Boro the exact same Lucas freaking poses to be like, do you see what we're doing here? Like, you didn't do that on purpose? Then like that's just weird, okay? Because it's too similar and too bizarre. I could eat this every day. Maybe I should thank the neighbors for complaining. Oh, stop joking. But thank you. Adolphe wasn't much of a talker, but he did his best to keep conversation going, keep my mind off of other things. I was just happy that my cooking could at least provide the sustenance he needed. I could feel my cold heart slowly warming from the meal and the conversation with my foster brother. It's good. I'm glad I can make such a comforting meal. I'd had this stew many times before, but it tasted much better now, probably because I was enjoying it with Adolphe. But more heartwarming Adolphe's words to me were, the more I feared somehow killing him at any moment. I could only seem to think about the worst possible scenarios. Not gonna. My negative train of thought continued as I went to bed. The hooting of the owl in the background was like, I'm like, whoa, it distracted me. Owl? In my mind, I could see numerous shadowy corpses piled on top of one another. The bodies seemed to all have the same face as my dear foster brother. Adolphe dead from the country's curse. Adolphe burned and charred by intense flames. Adolphe bleeding profusely from a gaping hole in his chest. Many, many, many bodies of Adolphe strewn about my dream. I mean, to be fair, you don't know how many realities he's jumped through where he's actually died from all these, not from the curse, but like from being stabbed and all that. I mean, we saw him beheaded, so it's not that he can't die, it's just not from the curse, you know? They were all looking at me with hollow eyes, their voices croaking out of rotting mouths. That's a visual I didn't need. It's your fault. Fine. I knew this was a dream, but I couldn't bear the sight of my foster brother dead at different ways. I forced myself awake and rushed out of bed without thinking. Accidentally kick Adolphe in the head. I knelt down next to Adolphe, who was sleeping a short distance away. Adolphe! Adolphe! I climbed onto his body as I called his name. Girl, I mean, could you imagine waking? He's like, excuse me? I thought I was dreaming. I put my ear to his chest to hear his heartbeat and breathing. I feel like he's going to wake up and it's going to be very awkward. I cupped his cheeks with my hands to check whether his body was still warm. The hell? That's how you wake up with a woman on top of you? Groping you? I mean, honestly, fair. Because, like, girl, consent. Naturally, Adolphe woke up from my sudden actions. Yeah, right? He slowly opened his eyes and looked at me. Spacey, what are you doing? His little perplexed face, he's like, I'm kind of afraid. I could hear his voice very clearly. Yeah, because you're on top of him. I'm so glad you're still alive. You really are alive, Adolphe. My body was trembling with fear and relief. I could see my pathetic self on the verge of tears reflected in his eyes. Adolphe, who was in a hurry to get me off of him, suddenly stopped moving. You had a nightmare, didn't you? Seeing me nod a few times, Adolphe took a deep breath and sighed. He then moved his hands off my shoulders. Oh my. Beautiful. Beautiful CG. Look at this. Oh, he's just like fine. Holding me. Oh! How lovely. I could feel his warmth surrounding my shaking body. His arms wrapped around me, and I felt a strong hand gently resting on the back of my head. It's all right. Everything's fine. You were just dreaming. The real me is here. I'm alive and well. I just told you I'd always be by your side, so I wouldn't die on the first damn night. I like his way of reassuring us. I wouldn't die on the first damn night. Like, kind of a harsh way of comforting us. I love it. He gently stroked my hair. His kindness and his strong voice. Oh, Adolphe. He was real. He was definitely alive. I finally realized that I wasn't dreaming. Adolphe embraced me as he continued to speak. Sorry, bird, but every once in a while I gotta move my head. Considering the life you've lived, I get why you're anxious. And I know you're scared because you care about me. Adolphe then asked me a question. But am I the kind of guy who would die as easily as you imagine? Well, that one time you were beheaded, that would seem pretty easy for them. No. I responded with a hoarse voice. You've always been strong, Adolphe. So strong that Mother and the rest of us are surprised that the curse doesn't affect you. You've never once gone back on your word about protecting me. There you have it. And you're my family. My strong little sister. So have some confidence, and don't give in to those kinds of beliefs. And now that I'll never die before you, I promise I'll always be by your side. Oh, and know that I will never die before you. Sorry. And know that I will never die before you. Okay. Felt like I was back in the old days when I was still a child. This is Adolphe. The Adolphe I've known since I was little, who's always by my side. Still here in front of me. There was no way this kind, warm soul was just an illusion created by my mind. Even though I knew that, I still wanted to make sure. Smile or move closer? Move closer. I mean, both are good, but move closer. That's just me. I want to inch closer. Hell yeah. Woo! So far, I'm really good at wooing Adolphe. That's like 3 for 3, but it's not going to stay this way. I held him as close to me as I could. Adolphe's body went tense for a moment, probably surprised by my suddenness. I'm sorry. It just feels so much safer when you're next to me. Oh, and let me remind you that you were the one who asked me to stay with you. So take responsibility for what you said, and don't think about ways we'll suddenly be separated. I'll never forgive you if you die over some stupid reason, like wanting to keep me alive. When you say it like that, it doesn't sound like a joke. Of course not, because I'm serious. I giggled, seeing him say that with a broad smile. Good night, Spacey. I'll be here forever, so just get some sleep, okay? Brought his lips to my forehead. Oh! Suddenly, my cheeks were flushed with heat. It completely took me by surprise, and I began to panic, knowing that he could feel my heartbeat through his own chest. Adolphe? Yeah, sorry. Old habit from when I used to put you to bed as a kid. Still, I just, listen. He's the one that's constantly saying, you're my little sister, I'm your brother. He's the one that's, are you trying to convince yourself, sweetie, that the feelings you have are not, romantic? Because I don't know about that. This is Jesus, you're like the softest little marshmallow, aren't you? I guess it came out of nowhere. Alfie explained himself awkwardly. I mean, it probably was. It could have been an instinct, like, oh, she's scared, whatever, kiss her on the forehead, and then it's like, oh, that was weird. But also, it's not just from when you were younger and you used to kiss her on the forehead because she was a little kid. It was, there's something inside you that just wanted to do it. You know what I mean? A little bit of both. Oh, I see. Couldn't respond with anything else since I was since I was as flustered as he was. It's true that we sometimes shared a bed and he'd give me a kiss just before I went to sleep. It wasn't anything unusual, but Adolphe, who had his arms around me now, was completely different from back then. Yeah, he's a grown-ass man. For For some reason, being so close to him like this was making me feel embarrassed. I couldn't even meet his eyes anymore. Even though I was the one who clung to him, I decided to gently slip away from his arms so we could both sleep. He's like, damn it. Ooh, we get to be Cyan! Well, that was unexpected! Meanwhile, connected to the royal family's castle was the National Research Institute, the center of the country's technology. So the cause of death is a memory crash resulting from an overload in romantic emotions? When you put it that way, it makes sense. But are you sure you want to tell me this? If word gets out that this bug exists... Oh, that's true, because that's what they found out, like the hairs, right. It's fine. Only the royal family wants to hide this truth. The savior of this cursed country and the founder of Reliver Technology, the genius loved by God, Cyan Brophies, continued to speak to his deputy director, Dahut. Hold on. The music is just like bumping. Like, why does it get so intense sometimes? Besides, memory crashes don't occur in every instance of romantic love. And the memory capacity won't fail unless the overflow's at the level of those two who were the first known case. Which was why, for a large number of people to die in one night is highly unusual. And that's why I ordered the royal guard to collect the bodies for me to autopsy. Dahut groaned, knowing what he was going to say. But the bodies that were supposed to arrive along with the royal guard were beaten into a pulp by Boro. Well, you could try and negotiate with the families who buried the other bodies, but I bet the royal family wouldn't be happy. Cyan ignored his subordinate's mumbling and went deep into thought. The most likely possibility was that someone broke into the system he developed and caused the deaths that way. He checked the log, but couldn't find any trace of tampering. Well, but you know that, again, I don't think we ever figured, like, we knew that was a bug, right? But, I would assume it's, I don't think, we never quite figured that one out? They never gave us the answer, I don't think. Because I would assume, remember, it was Capucine. Because somebody, like, we know Jamil has the cloning machine. Like, and we know Capucine has one, right? Actually, no, did they? No, I thought at Eve's route didn't Cyan show up and was like, you did this, like, I know it. Like, now I can't remember if they actually came out and was like, yeah, the god, like, Cyan does show up and is like, and knows that Capucine is Orty. So, like, maybe it got resolved. I don't remember. But, like, because, you know, you're doing back alley. Why would he be... Is he just... I can't remember exactly why he was doing it, if he was. If they... Or they did... Now I can't remember. Again, it's been a long time since I finished Eve's Rat. It's been like a month. I can't remember if they came out and confirmed, yes, it was definitely Capucine who was making these relivers, whatever. And because we knew, I thought it was an Eve's route that somebody, some shadowy figure, went up to the guy, the royal family guy, the douchey guy, Simon, right? And was like, hey, Reliver Technology, blah, blah, blah. And then Simon got a new body, but then something was wrong with it, and he came to Cyan, and Cyan was like, nah, fuck you. And he died, and then all of a sudden it was like, take down Cyan. But was that in Cyan's route? I think that was in Cyan's route, actually. But that's like a piece of this larger puzzle. But we did figure out in Eve's route that, like, okay, the people are dying, this whole thing, memory crashes, whatever. But Cyan's like, that, we knew that was a bug, but I thought we kind of fixed that or whatever, that shouldn't be happening like this. But if somebody stole, like, you know, his data or whatever, or had one of the machines, which I thought he figured out, and that's why he showed up at Capucine's, right? And was like, you little son of a bitch. Yeah, because wasn't Capucine at the end, like, in the field of Lycoris, there was something about him being there, and like, but I can't remember if they ever straight up said, yes, he's the one making these clones to try to take down Cyan or something like that. Or if they ever kind of came out with exactly what was happening with this bit. You know, I can't quite remember if we resolved that or if it was just my theories that are stuck in my head. But I'm sure they'll rehash it again, so that's fine. Good for me. Anyway, I couldn't find any trace of tampering. Yeah, because we're making clones somewhere else. That either meant it didn't happen or that the culprit covered up their tracks well.
Assuming the memory did crash, there's no way for me to check without analyzing an affected heart.
And it would make sense if it was Capucine, because then he'd be like, oh, whoops, I need Boro to go attack all these people and whatever so that Cyan can't get the bodies and find out, wait, these weren't manufactured at my facility? What the fuck? You know? Somebody's copying my goods! Hey, I have the real version. Who's ordering bodies off Wish? Capucine is basically the Wish version. Okay? As long as he had one of the bodies, he could verify under what conditions the heart was manufactured. He considered contacting the Corps or Karun, who were both investigating the deaths, but
Something isn't right.
if the deaths were caused by a third party, the issue shouldn't be something as simple as a memory crash. It also bothered him that Boro, whom the royal family was trying to hide from the public, was somehow involved, which meant that it would be best to just keep silent. In that case, best to keep silent. I don't think Cyan's gonna do it.
Dot, I'm gonna be taking a leave of absence. You be the director while I'm gone. And make sure you keep the predetermined manufacturing and testing schedule. You can give me the report once I return. And don't let the royal family know I'm gone. It'd be a nuisance if they found out.
Huh? Wait just a second! We were to shut in Lake Yugo all of a sudden, and for what?
What? It won't hurt to do some research outside. I'm going to investigate the deaths myself.
He got up to finally take action into his own hands. It's like, it's best to keep silent. So Cyan is absolutely not gonna fucking do that. We had to know that was coming. It's slightly different because obviously, like, we went to him, blah, 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 and he did come out. But, like, I think this is slightly different with him coming. This does feel similar but different. I mean, similar information, but I think it's, again, slightly different. I woke up and saw Adolphe enjoying a meal that he prepared himself. Because now we veered off. So there's going to be similarities because I feel like there was still Cyan like, I'm going to go figure this shit out myself. I feel like he did that somewhere else, but not in the common route. Like, this is all going to be different now because the point up to Eve dying and getting punched to life by Lucas, you know, we went to the field, whatever, but we never ended up at Adolphe's place. This didn't happen, so now it's all different, you know? Anyway, I woke up and saw Adolphe enjoying a meal that he prepared himself. It was refreshing to see another side of him that I had never seen before, tending to his garden with a hoe in hand. Hey! I don't like being called... Oh, never mind, you meant the tool. Never mind. See what I did there, because I'm a hoe! Only for 2D boys. It almost made me wonder how I could have ever had that nightmare. My days with Adolphe passed peacefully. For now. During my stay, not a single person came to his house. Oh, ain't that the life, Adolphe? Adolphe told me that Mother would probably visit, but now wasn't the time. Holding laundry like this feels like when we used to live together. Put that down right now, Spacey. I can fold my own underwear. No, you always just roll everything into a ball and throw it in the drawer. Fine, I'll do it. I'll fold it nice and neat, just like you want, so leave it alone. Let the boy throw— Oh my god! Look at his adorable little blush! What is with this look on your— It's not even the blush, there's just something about his eyes that are just so pretty right now. Like with the How did you do that? That's like a totally different face. What's with these little Bambi eyes? What the hell? Like, anyway, let the boy just roll his underwear up into a ball if that's what he wants. Don't... You're making him uncomfortable. Those were the days. I remember when Mother ended up helping me fold your things. Don't remind me. Adolphe gave a weary response as I unfolded his core uniform and spread it out in front of me. I looked closely at the hems that had become unstitched over time. Why haven't you told me about these? I could have restitched them. It's a pain to go to the orphanage just to ask you to fix the hems. And they're fine like that. I can still wear them. It's not the point. Once they're frayed, they'll just keep spreading. He's definitely a boy. You're like them, it's fine. You're like, do you not see you're unraveling, boy? What the fuck? So adorable. We need to sew them tonight. This is what you use for work, so you'll be in trouble if they cause an emergency. He's so mad. We continued folding the laundry together. I let out a sigh as I spread open another of his work clothes that he abuses. Adolphe, you're really good at taking care of others, but not when it comes to looking out for yourself. Mother told me you didn't even have furniture in here when she first came to visit you. You told her you just needed a place to sleep, and that's why Mother scolded you. Yeah, and then she forced me to go shopping for furniture with her. In the end, it turned out for the best, since even the other guys started staying over. It seemed both Adolphe and I couldn't go against Mother. I think Mother just wanted you to spend a little more money on yourself. It's not my fault. I don't have any hobbies aside from training and sword maintenance. I only recently started hanging out with Eve and the others for drinks. He really gets along with Eve. Who doesn't? You don't even have to like dogs to get along with that labradoodle, I'm just saying. Adolphe had always been like this. It wasn't that he was shy or anything, but he was stubbornly against befriending anyone outside of the orphanage. In fact, it often seemed like he hated everyone else. See, Adolphe is very, cold and closed off and just like, I'm fine by myself. And then you have Eve the labradoodle bouncing around here. Bing, 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 bing. I'm gonna be your best friend and you're gonna love me. And next thing you know, you're hanging out and you're like, why the fuck? How did this happen? You, like a total shut-in introvert and the bouncy labradoodle extrovert. And that right there, you just pictured 500 different anime fucking friend couple thing, whatever, and you were like, yep. You know exactly what that looks like. And it's those two. And yet, also Hugo, but Hugo's a little more outgoing than Adolphe. Although, Adolphe, watch your back, because Hugo will fucking stab it. You try to take Eve away from him, Jesus. But now he actually had friends that came over for drinks with him, against his will. I think Adolphe would have been totally fine, but then you just have those two extroverts popping over. I'm really happy about that. Especially because his closest friend was the very person who saved me 7 years ago. I hope I have the opportunity to apologize to him someday, and to thank him for being Adolphe's friend. But first, Adolphe, what happened with the incident I saw in the alley? Hans suddenly stopped. Seeing that he remained quiet, I asked him another question. Were there other casualties or victims because of me? I asked from a different point of view. Suddenly he began to move again and folded his clothes a bit more forcefully. Don't worry about it. It's nothing like you're imagining. Really? Have I ever lied to you before? Yes, that time you hurt your arm, but you kept saying you were fine and didn't need to go to the hospital. I like how we don't even hesitate. Have I ever lied to you? Yeah, actually. And then there was that time. How many years ago was that? You're not still mad about it, are you? Of course. He couldn't possibly imagine how terrified I was when I saw the bloody gash on his arm. Aside from that, I can at least say I'm not lying to you now. Since I'm the core leader, I wouldn't be here at home if there was an emergency. Well, I guess you're right. I'm sorry for asking such a silly question. Adolphe stopped me before I could lower my head as usual. I'm not surprised you'd think of something like that after being holed up in here for so long. If you want, we can go outside for a change. I'm allowed outside. Only on the doorstep, though! No further. Go outside? I thought I couldn't go out right now. Like we're a prisoner. Well, I mean, he is like stay inside because then people will think I have you detained and then they won't harass you. So like wandering around outside chilling is gonna be like, really? This is detained? You know what I mean? Well, see. Okay, wait. See what I'm saying? Oh no, he does have his arm in front of him. Okay. I couldn't remember. But like it's almost similar. It's because he usually has this face, and like Adolphe usually looks flustered. So when Adolphe had the like happy little grin, but his hand on his forehead, it's very similar to this. I don't know why it strikes me as similar, even though it's really not. But there's something about it that's a little too similar. You know what I mean? Also, like, look at the Jesus Christ, put the tiniest little fucking Adolphe does have a tiny little snatched waist too. We've noticed that. And like seriously, look at this. Look at the curve of Anko's back and like it's like that is like you're like a giant question mark, sir. Like your back should not curve out that much if your waist's gonna like there's something awkward about this. Like how teeny tiny is your little fucking waist? Like Jesus. But there was something about Adolphe doing that just with that little giggle face on that was like struck me as this and it was just but you see what I'm saying? It's almost like mirror because instead of hand on the forehead, it's hand covering the mouth, and instead of facing to the left, he's facing to the right, and it's like, you know, and it's just it's so weird. Did they do that on purpose? Anyway, Spacey wished for her own. Are we supposed to read this as Anko? It just says other. Well, anyway, Spacey wished for her own death, while the young man beside her gave her hope. Anko, the watchman of death, was active early this morning instead of at night, thinking about how terribly out of place he looked under the bright blue sky. Obviously not. As he mused on such thoughts. See, and there's also like there's something about this face too. It, it I it's too similar. The Lycruses here should be at their peak. I'm truly sorry, but I will need you all to fulfill your mission during this wonderful bloom. He began plucking the flowers by hand without any concern for the laws that prohibited it. The mist emitted from the broken stems was the curse that eroded the country and was invisible to the mortal eye. Should a normal person be in the vicinity, the curse's symptoms would immediately worsen, causing great suffering and death. But the symbol of death did not seem bothered by it. Interesting. He continued to pluck the flowers one by one until there were a large bundle in his arms when, hearing the rustling of flowers, Uncle quickly hid behind the nearby ruins. I'm curious though, because like he's plucking the flowers. But like, and we know they're there to purify. I'm just gonna go back to exactly I need you all to fulfill your mission during this wonderful bloom. The Lycruses here should be at their peak. I'll need you all to fulfill your mission of the flowers is to purify the soil, right? But then he's picking them. So it's like, are you trying to get them to kill people? Like, kind of curious. Anyway, is that? He peeked from the shadows to see who it was. I would guess Eve. Yeah.
I should have been here last night, but I ended up dozing off. Guess I'm not fully recovered from my injuries yet.
You were dead for half an hour. You shouldn't even be walking. You like should be totally brain dead. Again, we're not supposed to talk about the science.
I need to get back to training.
The person who appeared was Eve, whose narrow escape from death was nothing short of a miracle.
You're being too fidgety. What you doing?
Sorry, I have to smother the bird with kisses.
Don't you bite the headset, though. Take my kisses back. Everything.
You're so cute. Uncle held his breath and looked on.
Sorry I haven't been here for a while. Things just happened. I need to apologize to Spacey for worrying her. I heard Adolphe was able to find her.
Eve tended to the lycris flowers as he spoke to them like they were human beings.
Wasn't it romantic he went to look for her in the same field of flowers I care for? What kind of girl did she grow up to be? I bet she's nice and she's Adolphe's sister. Maybe I can become friends with her.
See, that's such a fucking labradoodle way of thinking. Oh god, I clicked too fast. Sorry. His gentle touch and expression conveyed his love for the flowers of misfortune, the lycris noirges. After making sure the flowers were doing well, Eve slowly stood up.
Adolphe has his hands full right now, so we need to do our best investigating the incidents.
After mumbling to himself, he turned and headed elsewhere to check on another patch of flowers. See, and that shocked look is very similar. I don't know, I'm starting to see them in each other now. Uncle reached his hand out for a moment. I do not have the right. He drew his arm back as if giving up. Oh, it's like, see, okay, but see, tell me, this goes back to again in, like, the route, was it Lucas's, where, like, we're running after and Lucas has killed everyone and Anko's with us and he's like, he just looks so, like, pained that everyone is dead and that, like, we're like, oh my god, like, Hugo's gone and Eve, and, like, he just looks so, like, upset about it. And then, like, here, he's like, he's gonna reach out to him, like, oh, I miss you. Because, like, for him, if he is, like, Adolphe, right? Like, God, centuries in the future, Eve's been dead for fucking forever. You know what I mean? Eve's been dead for God knows how long. So, like, Anko hasn't seen anyone. It's not like Adolphe sees Eve all the time. Anko hasn't seen anyone. So, seeing him now is like, oh, my friend. Like, you want to pet the Labradoodle, but you're not allowed to. You know? Aww. Our little marshmallow. So cute. Anyway, he drew his arm back as if giving up. He's doing his very best to keep the covenant. I should do what I can as well. With the makeshift bouquet of lycris noirges in his arm, he too turned his back to the guardian of the lycris and disappeared. I'm sorry, I feel like they put that in there because that's absolutely trying to hint to you. Like, it's not like he's like, oh, okay. Like, he didn't just, it's the reaching out thing that just indicates that he knows him. And I'm sorry, that's like, I'm tying it. Like, it was an hour later when Adolphe returned. But instead of returning alone, he arrived with a certain guest. Let me guess. Our Labradoodle? Wow! A horse, and we're on a horse with Adolphe. How romantic and goddamn beautiful. Stop it. He arrived with a certain guest and bam, CG, and we are just in his goddamn lap riding this motherfucking horse. And the lighting in this is I love when they do with the lighting effects with the little, like, the light balls. You know what I mean? What are they called? I don't know. I don't know enough, but you know what I mean? Like, you can see them, obviously. Like, it's so pretty. God damn. It looks beautiful in this. She looks super pretty. Like, the background's all ethereal and shit, because it looks like we're, like, riding a horse. It looks like we're riding a horse in the sky. You know, like we're riding a Pegasus here. God, it's so pretty. Is that really you, Lauren? You've gotten so big since last time I saw you. Oops. Thought I was hitting A, I guess not. We headed out to the field of lycris noirges that the people of this country feared and avoided. We rode through the quiet beach on Adolphe's trusty horse. How does it feel to go riding again? It's incredible. He's gotten so big, I feel like I'm flying. And he runs so smoothly, too. It looks like you're flying. I'm, like, not 100% sure how you're supposed to pronounce Laurent. Is it Laurent? Laurent? Lauren? You're not supposed to pronounce the T? I don't know, but anyway. Well, we'll go with Laurent, because that's easier to say. Laurent, you're such a fine horse. You must be working hard with the Corps and Adolphe. It's actually kind of cute that he's had this horse for God knows how long. Lauren whinnied in response as I patted him on the back. Look, we have new friend. Don't let anything happen to the fucking horse. All right? Listen, we had to deal with what happened to Nadia, but I draw the line at hurting the fucking horse. Leave the animals alone. It's bad enough you had to burn my Labradoodle to death, okay? But like that, he's a person, even though I'm just comparing him to a Labradoodle, but this is an actual horse. Leave him alone. He was originally a workhorse donated to the orphanage by a friend of Mother's. But with so few of us at the orphanage, there was little work for him to do, and he became a popular playmate for the children. Oh. In the end, he left the orphanage with Adolphe and was currently being kept behind the church that the Corps used as a base. I was told they rode him in emergencies when they needed to travel a long distance. I've been thinking a lot about the past recently. I remember how we used to ride Lauren on this to go to the Lycoris field before you left the orphanage. Oh, we get to learn about the horse. Lauren, Adolphe's horse, originally given to Salome as a workhorse, but soon found himself a playmate to the children. Could you imagine? Like, we've got a cat at our orphanage. We've got a dog. We have a horse. Like, so cute. You could just see him because horses are kind of adorable when they're like rolling around in the dirt and everything. Like kind of adorable. He's now working as a member of the Corps and is kept in the stable behind the church. I love this. Horse has a job. Well, every time I asked if you wanted to go somewhere, you always said the Lycoris field. It's because there aren't many people around and I like the Lycoris flowers. Was it annoying? Adolphe shook his head as he steered Laurent with the reins. I don't mind the flowers either, apart from the misfortune stuff. And not just the Lycoris fields, but I also like going to the beach where Mother found me. Even if it's sort of depressing, every time I go on a long ride, I feel nostalgic and stop by. She found him on a beach, so are we trying to say that he's not from this world and he washed up on the shore? Even though I didn't have all the details, I recalled that Adolphe was abandoned by his parents, too. Have you found anything out about your parents? Was he abandoned or did he just wash up on shore because he was on a boat and he doesn't belong here? They're still a pair of lowlifes. I'm glad they decided to disown me. Or he was old enough to remember his parents and they ditched him at the beach. I don't know. But here's the weird thing. It depends on how old you are, but you can't just bring your kid to the beach and leave him there because they kind of, especially in this place, they know probably where they live. And they just walk back in. What are you doing here? I'm 8. I know where my fucking house is. I'm not stupid. You know what I mean? I see. He must be telling the truth. I could tell by Adolphe's expression that he really detested any memory of them. Does he have any, though? When I think that was the reason I was able to meet you, well... No need to choose your words carefully. I'd be happier if you just told me I lucked out. I'm also grateful to my parents for that reason alone. Saying something like that, Adolphe wasn't acting like his normal self. He had been this way since he promised that he wouldn't leave me. He was more talkative, and his words were very earnest and sincere. He's trying to woo us. Whether he knows it or not, it's working, though. So much so that I felt a little embarrassed. Adolphe never said stuff like that in all the years we lived together. Laurent looked back at me with concern, probably sensing the heat in my body. He's like, girl, okay. I'm a bit nervous riding with you now, Adolphe. The last time we rode together was 2 years ago when I was 16. I still feel like a little kid, so it didn't bother me, but I still felt like a little kid. The heck are you saying? I've always been nervous. Huh? I tried to hide the heat inside me, but... And the way you leaned on me, and the way your hair kept getting prettier. I'm sorry, but if you are not hitting on me, I don't know what this is. The way you treated Laurent like he was a little brother, and your smile. Everything about you has long since ceased being a little kid to me. If that's not confessing, again, I don't know what fucking end is up, and also, I'm over here like, what now? Giggles awkwardly and blushes a little and like, I don't know how to respond to this because we're like 3 hours into your route, sir. What the fuck? Shit! I'm okay with this. Seeing an expression I had never seen before from Adolphe made matters worse. I could feel the heat rising to my face so quickly that even Laurent looked worried. I felt so awkward. I somehow tried to hide my confusion and look up to see his face. You've never realized how I felt all this time. You really are carefree. Wow, he really 100. Okay, I was kind of questioning if I was reading into this, but no, I'm pretty sure I'm not. He wasn't trying to hide anything. Kiss me already. Adolphe continued to show me his gentle smile to prove what he said was true. I hurriedly looked away from him. I didn't have the courage to ask what he meant by that. It's because you know. Adolphe's transforming into someone I don't know. It felt odd to call him my foster brother now. I was bewildered by the sudden change in the way I saw him, like he was a completely different person. I was somewhat lonely seeing him this way. But doesn't but it doesn't feel that bad. It says but doesn't feel that bad. Come on, Tim, Jesus. Fucking A. Get on the ball. I'd never felt like this before. Maybe I was changing into someone else besides his foster sister. I love that the CG has stayed up this long. Oh, well, I said that and now it's gone. Perhaps he noticed my blushing. Adolphe spurred Laurent to run faster so that a cool gust would cool me. With the waves approaching and receding at his feet, Laurent seemed to enjoy splashing across the beach. No matter how much we change, I guess Laurent will always be the same. Yeah, he's still the same brat who follows me wherever I go. I felt a bit better now, seeing his kind and gentle eyes. By the way, aren't you going to play with him? I don't want my clothes to get wet since we have a long way back. Adolphe, don't tell me you still can't swim. I thought you said you were going to learn because you needed it for core training. Don't blame me. I've had a hard time in the water ever since I almost drowned as a kid. My foster brother smiled, saying that he didn't seem to change either. That was odd. After a few rounds around the beach, we headed back through the Lycaris field when suddenly Lawrence stopped in his tracks and gave a quick blow of air through his nostrils, as if he sensed danger in the area. Huh. I was wondering if all of a sudden we were going to run into Anko, but the thing is like, I don't think he'd think Anko was dangerous. The horse would sense and know that it's the same person, right? I looked in the direction he was facing. Hmm? I like how they put question marks, but they show Eve. Why would they do that? I saw a different color among the black petals. The figure was kneeling on the ground, touching the lycris flowers without any hesitation. Eve? The hell's he doing out here when he should be resting in bed? He must have heard us. Oh, that's true. Adelphi might not know that Eve is the keeper of the flowers, right? Eve stood up with a confused look on his face, and upon seeing who we were, he walked toward us with a happy wave. Again, like a labradoodle. Oh, hey, friends!
Adolphe! I'm Spacey too. What a coincidence seeing you two out here.
I do fucking love him. Before Adolphe could respond, Lawrence suddenly bared his teeth and tried to keep Eve away. Interesting! The horse doesn't like Eve. Calm down, Laurent. Get used to Eve already, will you? Adolphe, what's wrong with Laurent? I guess he's always been spooked by people outside the orphanage, but sensing things might take a turn for the worse, we quickly dismounted and tried to calm him down. It's interesting that he doesn't like Eve. Everybody likes Eve.
Oh, sorry. Horses seem to hate me. If I move away, you should calm down.
That's really weird that horses hate you. Eve took a few steps back as he spoke, and Laurent began to calm down. Sorry about that. I keep telling him not to see you as a threat, but...
No worries at all. That's just his instincts protecting him.
Eve gave a sweet smile. I find it really odd. We've never seen anybody not like Eve, and a horse is afraid of him. I mean, he's the keeper of the flowers of death, and like maybe that's, you know, the horse is like, whoa, no. But this is my chance to apologize. Since he had stepped away from Lauren, I stepped forward to close the distance. Eve, about what happened at the orphanage. I'm so sorry for putting your life in danger. Seeing how guilty I look, Eve quickly tried to stop me.
Hey, no need to apologize. That was just an unlucky accident. It's nothing that you caused. Isn't that right, Adolphe?
Of course. But
what if you really feel bad? I don't know about we be friends. I'd be happy to get to know you better.
Friends? This was the first time I was asked to be someone's friend. Are you sure?
Yep, we're always meeting out here by chance, so I bet we can be the best of friends.
That's right. Why are you always out here?
Huh? Adolphe never told you. I thought you already...
I wouldn't talk about something that important without your permission. As I tilted my head in confusion, Eve smiled and nodded at Adolphe as if to say he had permission. Okay, so Adolphe knows. Okay. Adolphe sighed and turned to me. So, Eve is the owner of the field of Lycoris Noirges you like so much. Surprising reveal without much fanfare. We got more fanfare the first time around, girl. It's okay. Huh? What do you mean he's the owner of the field? More importantly, is it even possible to own the Lycoris Noirges?
Your reaction's exactly the same as when I told Adolphe. I guess you two really are like brother and sister.
Eve then went on to explain the mission passed down through generations of his family. He said the Lycoris Noirges were grown by a certain Death hundreds of years ago. Eve's ancestor met Death and formed a contract with him where his family needed to protect the Lycorises to fight the curse. In order to prevent being persecuted or accused, he only told this to a select few. But then I still wonder, did, Anko go back in time to that point and was death or something? But, at the same time, how would that affect the timeline of when, Adolphe found us dead in the field? You know what I mean? I feel like that wouldn't work. But then again, Eve was also dead for 30 minutes, and he's perfectly fine. No brain damage, no nothing. So, I mean, even though, I'm trying to, go... The theory of the time travel thing, that wouldn't work with that, because then we wouldn't have had the flowers, but now we have the flowers, and they wouldn't have been around the first time we went through... You know what I mean? And, but we don't know that they were here. We just know what we saw when Anko showed up, and then we saw the original Adolphe finding us dead. We never know that the flowers were there before, so we don't know. I mean, as surreal as it was, he explained it thoroughly. I've never heard such a story about death. Maybe that's why Adolphe's still in good health, even at his age. It's because of the work you've been doing, Eve. If so, there was something else I needed to say. Thank you very much, Eve. I've been saved many times by the beauty of the Lycoris Noirges, too. I also heard that this was the place where I was abandoned, so I guess, in a way, this field is like my hometown. It really is your birthplace, technically.
I see. You're the first person to ever say they like the Lycorises. I'm really happy to hear that.
Now, what the heck are you doing out in the Lycoris field when you should be resting? It didn't seem like you were attending to the flowers, just checking on them.
Well, recently I've noticed that the number of Lycorises has dwindled too soon.
It's because Anko's picking them. Why? You know what I'm saying? He was like, you need to do your job. Their job is to filter out the toxins, but he's picking a lot of them, so they can't do their job. You know what I'm saying? Unless Anko's got another job for them to do, you know? Dwindled. And they probably just wilted or something.
But Lycorises are really resilient. If they were wilting, the whole patch would have wilted together.
No wild animal would ever eat the lycraces, would they? If the animals did eat them, then Lauren would have started grazing on them by now. The only other possibility was maybe someone was picking them without your knowledge. But they accelerate the curse and kill whoever picks them. What else could it be, though?
The only one who would need the lycraces is the death my grandfather told me about.
Which is Anko. Okay, so then is it possible? Okay, maybe. Maybe. Oh, like in the story you just told us. He wants to give them to a special woman? He wants to give them to us? Eve nodded in confirmation.
I think he's a romantic, surrounding the country with flowers for the woman he loves. And the marriage proposal must be coming soon.
And if we take it that it's a dolphin, that's... Again, the first time Adolphe found us dead and was like, he's too late, whatever, and then you could think Anka was born after that. The flowers may not have existed then. Maybe he went back in time with them and gave the flowers to, or whatever. I mean, we don't know. We don't really know what happened in the quote-unquote original timeline before he's gone back in time and fucked shit up. So it's possible. Anyway. Or he took over the role for someone else, you know. And I hope that she can accept it. Girl. Just remember that. Eve's wholesome joke made me chuckle. He really was a funny and kind person. I actually felt sorry for acting shy after what happened. I'm not sure how much of the story is true, but if it's real, it would make all the researchers lose their minds. It's funny, I'm not sure how much of the story is true, but it is real. It's supposed to be, but if it's real, but like, Tim is missing a lot of words lately in this route. Jesus.
According to the story, he doesn't look different from any other human, but is also kind of otherworldly.
If it's not Unko, then what the fuck?
He looks like a sorcerer from a fairy tale, with long silvery hair and murky crimson eyes, like a mixture of blood and fire.
Yeah, that's absolutely fucking Unko. Okay. Huh? Wait. My fucking god. So, then he traveled back in time. Is he describing Anko? The description Eve gave matched his description accurately. He does look like a sorcerer from a fairy tale. Anko is the death who cursed this country? You know! Well, I don't think death cursed the country. He gave them the flowers, but the flowers are to purify. You know what I mean? But I also wouldn't be surprised if death cursed this country because... Well, but then what would be the point? See, if the curse always existed and people died to 23 and the lycraces didn't exist, and then he found the lycraces and went back in time and was like, hey... Or maybe there were lycris flowers, there just weren't as many. So the curse was stronger and I was filtering it out, whatever. He found out and then was like, okay, we died. Adolphe finds us, loses his motherfucking marbles, becomes Anko in the future, then figures out time travel, goes back to the very beginning and is like, you need to plant these motherfucking flowers. Here you go. Whatever. And gives that, like, quote unquote mission to Eve's great 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 grandfather, whatever. Right? And then they plant the flowers, and then they're like, oh, that's the flowers are causing the curse, but the flowers don't cause the curse. We know that. But people think they're flowers of misfortune, not realizing it's because they're purifying the toxins. But they could have always been here. They just weren't in as the abundance that they're in. So they're in abundance now. And maybe that's what this is. Like, Anka was picking all the flowers and was like, you need to do that, so I'm going to go back in time now and give them, and like, you got to keep the timeline going by remembering to go back. Oh, wait, it's Tuesday. I got to go back in time and give the flowers. Yeah, I know we got to do this like once a month. I got to go back in time and give the flowers to Eve Grandpa, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's what he was doing to keep the timeline, you know? And we don't realize that every single loop through that we end up in, that, like, there's more flowers than there was before. Because, like, I mean, that doesn't make sense. But like, he could have, like, we could have had the flowers here. They just weren't, like, again, everywhere. They just had them places. So they weren't filtering enough. Anko takes some of them back in time, gives them, and then that's why we have the abundance of them. Why he's picking them, is it like this is just the moment where he picked them to go back in time to give them to Eve's grandfather or great grandfather or whoever, ancestor? And like, so Eve's noticing that, like, oh, recently a bunch of them have like seemingly disappeared. You know what I mean? But because this is the moment in time that Anko took them back, you know? Like, you've got to go do your job, which is got to go give them so that we can get to this moment in time where there's an abundance of them around the island. So that's kind of interesting. Well, shit. But anyway, Anko is the death who cursed this country. But he didn't curse it. We know that. But everybody else thinks the flowers are evil. They don't realize what's really happening. Death, too. The person said to have ordered Eve's ancestor to protect the lycrases so that they could be given to a special woman. He is said to have long silvery hair and crimson eyes. He isn't just a watchman? If he really wasn't human, I could see how he could live for hundreds of years, but if that's the case, then why does he want to reduce the number of deaths? Is he lying to me to fulfill some ulterior motive? No. Again, we know that the purpose of the flowers is to filter out the toxins. So more flowers, more better. I was getting more confused as I thought about it. He didn't seem like a bad person, but Eve's story was beginning to make me change my mind. But even if I did ask him directly, I doubt he'd be able to tell me anything because of that strange interference. It really is death. It also meant he was the only one who could lift the curse from this country. Maybe, just maybe, if I could somehow convince him, maybe I can hold on to this peaceful life with Adolphe and become a normal human. I knew it was an unreasonable wish. After all, a sinner like me shouldn't dream like this, but a selfish desire had grown inside me. To live a happy life without killing anyone, able to explore the changes occurring in my relationship with Adolphe. I don't want to lose anymore. It would be my only salvation. And we're gonna wrap this part up here. But yeah, I find that interesting. So again, like, so see how there's like 6 of them around, not really, but there's a tiny little bit of them around Adolphe's house or whatever, right? Like, boop, 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 there's a little bit. So Anko could have brought them back and been like, you need to grow them, and like, he's doing it, but I'm curious as the why he's doing it for us. Is it because if there's more flowers filtering out the toxins in the ground, then I won't be filtering out the toxins? You know what I mean? More flowers taking more toxins means less toxins in the ground for me to filter out and cause harm to people. You know what I mean? So he's trying to do that. So curious. But obviously we're going to get that explanation, and we already know the explanation of what the flowers do, but we don't know like Adolphe's history too much aside from his parents abandoned him. But okay, did they, or did you just magically find you on shore and you think your parents abandoned you, but you have no memory of them because you washed up on shore because you don't belong here? Maybe you're the drifter. I mean, like, actually, I mean, no. I mean, we saw him grow up. I mean, someone found him as a child and everything like that. So it's not like he just magically appeared here 20 years old. So, but like, did your parents abandon you? Were you someone from somewhere else? Because remember, wasn't it was it? Wasn't it Eve's grandfather or someone who wasn't? No, wasn't Eve's grandfather the drifter or whatever? Like, yeah, wasn't it? So his blood is only like half that of the people here. So he's different already. Maybe that's why the horse is like, the fuck, you don't belong here, man. You know what I mean? So Adolphe, but then, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean why the horse doesn't like him. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up. and subscribe to see more.